ship, and I go on many cruises afterwards, and I find that I was literally in what would have been the lounge on the top deck, and just opened the door and stepped out, and some of those poor devils were way down below. But it was a fast ship, so it traveled by itself instead of a convoy. We were at sea for a few days, and one evening you could feel the ship going back and forth. This is the captain speaking. We made contact with 3 German submarines, and we're taking a base of action. Well, thank goodness they took the action, or somebody else might be here today. We went on the west coast of England at night. We transferred across it in a rainstorm. Next morning we drove a French ship and went over the side of landing nets, and I waited ashore at Omaha Beach on Labor Day of 44. It was probably only knee deep, and the idea was to get us inland as soon as possible, so I do not remember much about what was there, except there was some debris in the water and on the beaches. In any war, there's going to be casualties. Many will be killed, others wounded, some will be taken prisoners. I went over as a replacement. I went up through the replacement depots after landing, and after a few days I was assigned to a rifle company of the 28th Division. Each state at one time had their National Guard division, and the 28th was the Keystone Division out of Pennsylvania. I believe I was assigned to Company B of 109. It was a quiet sector. The enemy was there, but we were on the backside of the hill, so we moved around, and we were not under direct fire. But each side would have had their own FA, field observer. They would have had possibly an officer out front of the line watching the enemy. After a couple of days, another GI and I were ordered back to battalion headquarters, which would have been a couple miles back. But it was a beautiful sunny day in September. We were pussyfooting across this open field, and I'm sure a German FA or FO was watching, because things were quiet, their artillery was silent, and here's a couple of GIs. Here's something for them to practice on. Well, an 88 is a very common German weapon. The 88 millimeter is about this big, about this long, very effective against aircraft and also troops. Let's say we were crossing this 88 hit just ahead of us. Oh, that got our attention. One hit behind us. That's called a long and short. Somebody's got their eye on you, and they're getting their sight. So the third round is going to be in your pocket. Like I'm sure you've seen characters on TV. That's the way you cross that field. And that third round never came in, or someone else would have been here. But that was my baptism of fire when a 19-year-old kid grew up in a herd right then. That winter was the worst that they had in decades. The temperature was below zero. I was in a rifle company, and existing outside, it was terrible. I got frostbite so bad that I couldn't walk. I was transported to the hospital on a litter, carried inside, and laid on an army cot, my bare feet sticking out. Each morning the doctor walked through, and if they turned black, they cut them off. I was ordered down to a room one day, and I'm sure it must have been a seminar of doctors. I don't recall now, but I'm sure there were men and women in there. They held me up onto a table like this, took a needle and stuck in my toes and showed that I didn't have any feeling in them. Okay, well, you're dismissed. Luckily, I did not lose my toes, but then I was awarded a Purple Heart that is normally given to a person that is wounded. This was not a flesh wound, but it's a wound that you never recover from. The flesh wound is going to heal up, scab, and you get over it. But trench foot, frostbite, once your circulatory system is screwed up, there's no treatment for it. I sleep now with my feet out from under the covers because you just don't want anything on them. Difficult to get my feet warm in the wintertime and they burn in the summer. I was in the hospital in Spa, Belgium, and I remember since then, I guess I went to V1 or V2, and we called them buzz bombs, but they looked like a skyrocket going over every night. They would sputter, and thank goodness none of them landed near us. But December 16th, they emptied the hospital out, everybody had to walk, and I got as far as New Chateau on the way to Bastogne to return as a rifleman, and they asked me if I wanted to be an MP. So I made a quick decision, and I'm sure that's another reason why I'm here today. I've got a couple of helmets. This is called a helmet liner that will be worn under a steel helmet. I never cooked in this, but I used it as a wash basin to wash my clothes. And this is the helmet that I used when I got back to the States as a big flight. And this was my equipment in the flight. A friend of mine who lettered this back when he started at Camp Upton, where I was inducted to Kaiserslautern, the last place in Germany before coming home. But scanning this, St. Marie Hawks Mines. This was a small town in the Colmar area where we were in January of 45. There was only one man shot in World War II for desertion, Eddie Slovic. And the rumor was that the men in his company were going to be on his firing squad. I believe I was in this company, and I started it out, but I was not on his squad. Again, it was a beautiful sunny day in January. This little town was between two mountains, and I can still remember those volleys when they were shot. They rattled back and forth, and it was just as quiet as could be, because you knew that a life had been taken. He was convicted of desertion. He was offered a reprieve if he would go back on the lines, but he said that he would not. And the decision was left to the company commander, battalion, regimental division, and it went to Eisenhower. There were many desertions, and I decided to make an example out of this one man. He was shot. And that is something that you don't forget. Obviously, I survived. I was in Elmira on an evening of BJ Day, and what a wild place that was. The war was over, they couldn't discharge us quick enough. The 28th Division was originally from Fort Indiantown Gap in Pennsylvania. I've gone back there many times for reunions, and every weekend during the convention, a day-to-day trip. In September 1915, we went to Washington, D.C. The president of the association and I laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. That was a very humbling experience. And 3 weeks later, I went on a Patriots flight again to Washington, and 4 veterans laid a wreath, me being one of them. 2 of those have already passed on. But laying a wreath once in a lifetime is very humbling, but twice, I don't know, that is a very high honor that I'll always cherish. I have pictures that you can look at afterwards, but it's my turn to thank you.
Mr. Charlie enlisted in the Navy in March of 1944. He was only 17. He was assigned to the flagship USS Teton, a communication ship, with all the other ships in the convoy. His specific duty was working the gunnery crew handling 40mm shells. The ship survived 150 kamikaze attacks during the deadly 82-day-long Battle of Okinawa, which occurred from April 1st to June 22nd, 1945. At the end of the war, his ship was next to the USS Missouri, where General MacArthur accepted the Japanese surrender. It was from the Teton that the world first learned that the Japanese had formally surrendered. Mr. Levesque.
Can everybody hear this? Oh, yes. I think my childhood is more interesting than the military, and that's, everyone was born with a highway, and that highway is how we live. It's your life and your future. Don't say about my highway. Yeah. I was born in 1926, at the beginning of the Great Depression, and it ended in December 7th, 1941. It's hard to believe, but I lived in the country on a farm. We never had electricity, we didn't know what it was. The cities had it, but we never got our way. So you didn't know what I was missing like you had. What you do is turn around the street and get anything and everything you want. You had it. And if you had to go, you had to do outside to do whatever you had to do. To get water, we had a well or a pump. We always had to climb this. In the wintertime, sometimes that pump gets sassy, during the day. And the big thing is, you probably never heard of the wash tub, have you? I'm going to heard of the wash tub. Well, it's yours, I'm surprised. I know one of your grandfathers did. We're big round galvanized tub. That's how we took our bed. And in the wintertime, we always closely get it to the stove. So one side you're roasting, the other side you're freezing. But then, as all highways go, we moved on. When they come age, go to school, we had to move because we lived about 15 miles away from the home school in Colony at the time. Well, we finally got electricity, but that's all. And what our entertainment was a little tiny radio, fascinating. Imagine hearing somebody's talking and you don't even see it. Well, anyway, time went on. There was 5 of us, good friends. We all decided to enlist at the same time. We were all 17. We went down the road, we enlisted. They chose the Marines because the Marines is the stronghold guys at the time. I still don't know why I chose the Navy, but it was a good choice because I'm here. But anyway, I went to boot camp. I was assigned to the Teton, which is a communication ship. It was a flagship. How many knows what a flagship is? There's a ship that has an admiral aboard. And flagship has command over a flotilla and a convoy. I didn't know that until only last week I think our conference was 1,500 ships. And aboard our ship that carried the troops, we had 7 full divisions. More than went into Normandy on D-Day, which surprised me. Because everybody knows D-Day. Not too much is spoken about in the Pacific. Well, we got a board ship, and all those ships that's commissioned has to take what they call a trial run. That takes about 2 weeks. But they wanted us so fast in the Pacific because we were up to date communications. So we took off without our trial run, we almost sunk. We hit 8 tires, and we were under one of the worst storms. If we went, we almost capsized. We were only 2 degrees. The water was coming right in. We had to batten down all the hatches so we wouldn't get soaked. And we had to hold on, whatever we could hold on, because we like running more, bouncing all over the place. Or we managed to get through that. We had more trouble with the weather than anything else. We finally made it in the harbor. Our admiral came aboard with his marine company, and we were all to Iwo Jima. Well, we never made it. We broke down again in another storm. We had to get that fixed. And then we went to the Philippines, and then there we thought we went to Okinawa. The first day we got there, I think it was Easter. It was calm, beautiful, nothing taking place. The Marines landed, the Army landed, nothing was happening. Oh boy, we were in a big surprise. Next day, they came over by the droves. Well, we had a lot of targets, 1,500 ships. So your chance of being hit was minimal. But ships near us got hit, never sunk. Only one ship in our area that we could see was an ammunition ship. And that got hit, boy, that fireworks you heard the noise. Shells all. Well, that lasted 80 days. Morning, middle of the night. You slept at your position that you were assigned to. The egg usually was brought to you. You had to go to the bathroom, you cook one at a time, but you never left your station. And one question was always asked, were you ever afraid? Any veteran will tell you they at one time or another were afraid. Now they kind of were afraid. Me, I was petrified. I still don't know to this day how that jet plane got through all the ammunition he was throwing at it. But he was just above the water, coming right straight for us. Right. My gun mouth was in midship. And I looked, I said, this is the end. Then all of a sudden, the great wind blew off, and he went drink. If that plane was hit anyplace else, in bombs or gasoline tank, would have been sprayed with shrapnel. That would have been more damage to us than the ship. But we got through that. There was only one other time we were under attack, and he was way up. We got him before he got us. And then that was all over. We moved back down to the Philippines, ready for the invasion of Japan. Then all of a sudden we took off, Tokyo Bay, and we were the third ship in Tokyo Bay, and we docked, and for I don't know how many days, I forgot, for quite a few days. A lot of Japanese dignitaries, military, our military, they come aboard ship every day. Then all of a sudden we took off again, and lo and behold, the biggest ship I ever saw in my life was the Missouri. We were anchored right behind it. We couldn't hear what they were saying, but we could see what was going on. and we were privileged to have the honor of broadcasting to the world that the war was over. But we're still not over us yet. We had to take the Marines back over to the States. So we made 2 or 3 trips doing that before I got discharged. So that's my history. But one thing I want to tell you about your highway. We all have a highway. And all highways got side streets. And there's 3 side streets. I know you're too young to be involved in it, but I know you know about it, you've heard about it, you read about it. And one is drugs. Second one is drinking and driving. Third one you don't think too much of, but it's just as important. A lot of youngsters have no self-esteem. They want to be somebody else. Never works. You're the rest of your life. Be yourself. You're unique. You're one of a kind. And you're very precious. Everybody has talents. If you know what they are, that's what you want to work at. Don't worry about what somebody else is because you can't be that person. And if you make the right decision, you're highly critical. Be around and prosperous. Thank you.
One shadow box is over here on the table, so I'm going to show it to you afterwards.
Mr. Wright, and I very much appreciate you being here and doing a little research on the background of yourself. And you went to war when you were 17 years old. And what I gather, high school diploma was not there. And so today, I'd like to turn it over to our high school principal, Mr. John Ritter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Frank. To our Iroquois students and to our Iroquois staff, thank you for allowing us to come here today. To our most respected honored guests, thank you for sharing your experiences. As Mr. Frank said, I'm here today on some official business. I am the principal of Niskuna High School. You'll all get a chance to meet me one day. I'm here with my student activities coordinator, Vince Bianchi, and we have a very special presentation to make. I want to preface it by giving you some background. In the year 2001, most of you were, I don't know that, but in 2001, New York State made a very good decision. And that decision was that based on life experience and military service, that high schools had the option to award veterans of World War II and later added the Korean conflict to where schools could award actual New York State diplomas for those who had to leave and go into service of our country and could not complete high school. As you heard Mr. Frank said, Mr. Levesque fits into that category. So I've got an official proclamation to read here, and I'm going to ask Mr. Bianchi on my behalf to make some presentations. On behalf of our Board of Education, this graduate here with us today has been certified by Niskuna High School as an individual who has met the graduation requirements set forth by the state of New York under Section 305 of Education Law and by the Board of Education of the Niskuna Central School District. So now, the power vested in me by the Niskuna Central School District in the state of New York, it is our honor to hereby award you with a New York State Niskuna High School diploma. diploma, Mr. Bianchi is also awarding Mr. Levesque with the Special Gold Cords, which signify honor in your service. And we have one other medal for you, and that is the Miss Unit Medal of Excellence, which goes out to members of our graduating class each year, the top members who provide the greatest level of service to our school and community. The Miss Unit Medal of Excellence is awarded annually to members of our Miss Unit High School community who, through devotion to and achievement in their fields, and through exemplary character and conduct, and through conscientious effort and significant contributions to our community and our country, best exemplify the ideals of Miss Unit High School. Again, Mr. Levesque, congratulations. It was a special honor and privilege to be here today. I just want to say one more thing, very important, and I'll let Mr. Levesque say a few words. He is now an official member of the class of 2018, so he will be included in our graduation program, and he will go on our school TV monitor that has all of our graduates of this Unit High School from 1959, our first graduating class, up until now, who have engaged in military service at one time or another. So again, Mr. Levesque, it's an honor to include you in that group.
Very happy and pleased that you've done this honor for me, but these other veterans, they deserve just as much as I do, maybe more. It's overwhelming. I think. I never did see a home for 2 years in service.
this for questions and answers. So gentlemen, those the parties, if you may go back, they'll answer all the questions, but I know they have a lot of very good questions.
They had said that what ate the fish until I couldn't stand it anymore, and then I got out to kill that taste. So finally, I had to leave it, and I went outside, and I really gave it a good try. And during that time, a cartridge or a bullet came into our tent, into my exact spot, and took both legs off my best friend next to me. So I was saved, and then the answer was when I came out, oh, you were saved for a purpose. Baloney. That doesn't go over very well. It didn't go over very well with me because I am still suffering from that guilt. I don't know really when I have guilt, but I feel guilty.
My remembrance of what I don't say is that it was a very happy one, but talking might find it interesting. I mentioned earlier that we had been sent to lead cruise schools down at Bar, Italy, and that was the headquarters of the 15th Air Force. And on the second day that we were in class, there was a knock on the door, and in came General Spatz, who was the commanding officer of the 15th Air Force. And behind him was a second general, whose name was Jimmy Doolittle. And we had the opportunity to meet him and talk to him just briefly. But we did ask him what he was doing at the 15th Air Force headquarters. He was the commanding officer of the 8th Air Force in England at the time. And he said he was there to try to determine why the 15th Air Force had far fewer losses than the 8th, and why our bombing record was far better than it is. I can't prove any of this, but it happened. It's true. And they talked for a couple of minutes, and he just wanted to come in and meet us. That's why we did it. So the last day of the course, we asked the instructor, did he ever get his answers? And the answer was yes. And they determined that we in the 15th Air Force spent 5 days a week bombing oil. And the other 2 days a week, we bombed marshalling yards, railroad yards. So that what they did produce, they couldn't get to where it was needed. And that accounted for both of those questions. That it was why the losses were better, were much better, and why our record of bombing was better, because while we had to deal with flak to extremes, we did not have that much fighter opposition at that time. But that was a happy story.
I have one question that I think could summarize. What lessons should we learn from your experiences in the war? What lessons should we learn from your experiences in the war?
Is it on? Okay. Well, the attack on Pearl Harbor, we often get questions related to this in the form of maybe I'm jumping the gun, but when we were attacked at Pearl Harbor, by the Japanese, something happened to this nation that hasn't happened since. I doubt that, I know that none of you have ever seen what happened. I think perhaps even your parents have not. And indeed, even some of your grandparents may have not. And that was, this country became a unified nation. It hasn't been such since. What is it now? And I hope and pray that you may someday see that. Because we came together, we didn't like everything we had to do. Examples. Imagine having a car, owning a car, only having 4 gallons of gasoline a week. You think people like that? They wouldn't. They accepted it. Ladies wore silk stockings in those days. There were none. They were, all the silk was in parachutes and the like. They didn't like that, but they did it. Everyone from Rosie the River to the highest official in our country united in purpose to defeat Germany and to defeat Japan.
Yeah, I'd like to mention how I noticed that attitudes have changed in the public recently. When I came home, I believe we were in the Boston Harbor, and there was a small boat that came out with a band, and that was a pleasant surprise. But I've listened and talked with Vietnam veterans, and they have been spit upon when they were in uniform. And that I had never experienced. And in recent years, I've probably wore this cap, and strangers, one or two a day, will stop me in the street and thank me for my service. And the attitude in the country is presently changing from what it had been recently. I just wanted to comment on that.
Yes, I think one of the greatest things that I've learned from the military is that sometimes in your life there are jobs that have to be done. It's a job that requires you, whoever it may be, the job is there. And so I think the World War II was that kind of can you hear me? Now, World War II was that kind of thing. There were jobs that had to be done, and the jobs were assigned, and you did them, and the sooner you did them, the sooner you had peace.
Thank you very much, sir. Certainly when we get up, but we're going to show you some behind you, so if you want to just look here.
I was having this fantastic amount of freedom. Freedom is not free. I think many people have said that before and will continue to say it. I think it's absolutely true. It's a gift. It has to be nurtured. We have to earn it, and we have to earn it every day. Courage, everybody's got it. All you got to do is use it and be in the right spot at the right time and be tested and allow this country. This is a unique country. I don't think any place has ever existed before like this, where you and I, all of us, have the freedom to say more or less what we want. In virtually any form, I can say whatever I want right now. And I know nobody's going to come knocking on the door and drag me away. Because of what I said. I can write what I want. I can print what I want. I can say whatever I want to say. That's a gift worth dying for.
We ask these men and women to turn themselves from civilians into soldiers. Then we ask them to go as warriors overnight to to being colleagues, friends, and parents again. Two monumental challenges. And yet generation after generation, they do it. They lay down their lives for the land and the dream that is America. The dream that floats high on their shoulders and one that lives always. That no matter how different we appear from one another, we are there for one another. One nation, one people living in freedom. Freedom that is won and protected by these ordinary, extraordinary Americans.
What the soldiers in this video we just saw today said, freedom is not free. It's a gift. It has to be nurtured. We have to earn it, and we have to earn it every day. As the song that the choir was so kind to sing, those words, those who travel to countries far and near, in peace and war, they pay the price for the cause we hold so dear, that we may wake up each morning and know that freedom rings. It is so easy to take for granted freedom, because it's simply an important part of our lives. But it was because of these men and the millions of others who fought and many who died that gave us this precious gift. One of our founding fathers, John Adams, wrote his wife and included a statement that I believe we should all remember. He said, "We can't guarantee success in the American Revolution, but we can do something better." He said, "We can deserve it." The same message is true today. Through our own actions, we can ensure that freedom that these men fought for will endure from generations to generations. The torch of freedom has been passed from their generation to my generation, and is now being given to all of you to carry, cherish, and protect. I hope that the willingness of these special men to share their experiences with you today will put what it means to be free in its proper and honored perspective, and provide a strong foundation for all of us to protect throughout our lives. We've been very fortunate to be able to share this day with these remarkable men. From all of us, we do thank you.